Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining me again today. I've done a lot of work off camera on the project because all of the changes that I put together required a lot of time and not much was happening really. But now I'm pretty happy to walk you through those changes. So if you watched the previous session, you know that I'm getting the project ready for like a wider public announcement, just to get more feedback from people and see maybe if it's going to be useful to people. So I'm focusing on first-time user experience. So this whole wyvern project I built in containers using this Docker file here, and it has served me well. But now I decided to also come up with an image for wyvern runtime, so that we can run the executable in a dedicated, very lean image. And I've completed it with this Docker file. It's very similar to the previous one, but it's multi-staged, and in the new stage we're only installing bash. Probably no need for bash either, but anyway, I'm happy to report that wyvern does get copied into that new image and runs on its own. So I'll give you a quick demo of it, but before I do, I wanted to show you Docker. So if you can see it, the wyvern SDK is 1.7 gigabytes, and meantime, the wyvern runtime, which is just Alpine with bash and these two libraries plus wyvern, and it's less than 70, which is pretty exciting, given the fact that wyvern on its own is roughly 50 megabytes, which is quite large, but I'm happy to live with it. So I have two terminals open here. This is my SDK terminal, and this is my local. So if we were to run wyvern, I have a little script for that here. Just for development, but it works. So we run this wyvern runtime image with the volume. It's pretty clumsily put together. I don't have a good idea how to provide an input file to the container yet, so I thought volume is just good enough. We defined the input file, the output file, and it runs. Let's give it a try. And it outputs the number of tokens. And because we mounted this directory as volume, let me just delete this. Whenever we create the SVG in the container, it should appear here on the local host. And it does. Okay, so pretty happy with that, but it leads to another avalanche of potential user problems. The new image is fast, it's lean, it's easy to push. More on that, by the way, in a second. But it's still not super user-friendly. We need to have some sort of a dedicated shell script for running wyvern runtime, or running wyvern in the runtime container. So I created some issues about that. And this is one of the issues. I need to get all my Docker files and scripts in order, or shell scripts in order, so that it is immediately obvious to the first-time user what component does what job and which Docker file does what. So I'll be probably introducing terms SDK and runtime for the containers. And also, just as a warm-up, there's another issue here. Right now, whatever we pass to the container, it would be good to also echo from the actual application. So I'll probably be working on these two issues today. But before I do, I also wanted to show you one more thing. See, I told you I was busy. We also have a package. Packages. Where are packages? Here. So I also deployed this image to Docker container registry, or whatever it's called. GitHub container registry. So this is just an Alpine masking as wyvern, but the path is established. I have the personal access token generated. I know how to push. So now we can consider implementing CI/CD for wyvern so that anytime I make a change, a new version of the wyvern runtime is built and deployed here, so that whoever wants to experiment with wyvern can do so directly in an Alpine container that's just 70 megs. Pretty convenient, I think. Now, let's get back to our SDK container, and let's first deal with this issue, echo user input. Because right now the user experience is not super helpful. It just displays number of tokens, number of skewers that is found in user input. And in our case, it's just one skewer. So let's go back to main, and instead of printing the length of skewers, we need to echo user input. And out of all that, I forgot how to make comments in Haskell. There we go. So let's get ready to tackle issue 15. Pop, please. Okay. So we get the input here. Let's do this. Let's see if this works. Okay, this is not what I expected. Let's see this. Yeah, much better. Let's see if that library optbar is applicative. Has functions for printing user input. Let's do this. They don't, but I do. Okay. So I can simplify this a little bit. That will trigger a compilation warning error. Oh, that is nice. But we also need a new line. All right. So this works. I'm not sure why I did clean or clear twice. I'll PR this a bit later. In the meantime, let's start thinking about those Docker files and runtimes. So we have 2 Docker files. Oh, we also have to update the README. Anyway, self-explanatory. So it's going to be a little bit like .NET. They have a framework version for SDK and framework version for runtime. Okay. Now build. And immediately we'll have to update the Docker file. Oh, sorry, this one. Start development environment is fine. Setup cabal is fine. Just need to modify run. Let's duplicate this. So this session, as you can see, is probably not going to be very Haskell heavy. But issues like that need to be tackled. Run is fine. So that way we'll have to modify the README a bit. This is no longer used. Okay, so this still applies. Let me just run it. Still works. That would make for a very pretty wallpaper, I think, for some people. Let's see. For those looking to only run a compiled version of wyvern. So here we'll just have so this is still using the old version, which is fine. And you know what? I think this is good enough for now. I'll just try to start the process of building runtime image. is probably going. I'm actually going to time it. Okay, so this is probably going to take 10 plus minutes. I'm not going to wait for it while recording. I think this is good enough for today. Not very Haskell heavy session. And let's establish a plan for the next session. I need to close this manual runtime, but maybe I will once I figure out the non-root user. If you noticed, the runtime image still uses root as the main user. This is probably not the best for the runtime image. And what I'm going to try to do is maybe update the README and all those YDracon materials off camera. And on camera, we'll probably start working on lines cannot cross issue. I have some ideas. Let's see if they work. And also, no, I wasn't here. Let's do it. This is my architecture and AMD 64 to begin with, because most people are probably still on AMD 64. But I'm very much looking forward to running this on my Raspberry Pi 5. Very excited about that. Let's see if that works. I have Docker installed there, so it shouldn't be a problem. Let's do in progress. Echo user input in progress until I PR this. And I think we're good for today. So if you've expected a lot of interesting Haskell stuff, I'm sorry to disappoint, but we're getting closer to preparing a pretty interesting package for the community, I believe. And I should be able to use it myself in my own work, which I'm very much looking forward to. Right. I hope you enjoyed the session. I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.